Hey, what's up everybody? This is Symbio with T3 Gaming. I'm here for another Star Wars Destiny video and apologize, I got a little bit of cold so it might sound a little funny. Anyway, this video is specially on the new Rivals draft kit that got released, and we played an 8-player draft here in Chico, California at Chico Magic. We did 2 packs of Awakenings, 2 packs of Spirit of Rebellion, and 2 packs of Empire at War. And so I am doing a video here of me opening packs with a couple, we got 4 players in a pod here, and we're just drafting in a pod of 4. I think everybody does it maybe a little bit differently, but we didn't want to do like a complex 8-player draft. So here's my first pack. It looks like it is an Awakenings pack, and I'm gonna keep up some the Rivals kit characters on the left here for you so that you could be thinking about like what characters I might draft. And so when you're drafting, basically you're going to pick one from the fit. You basically open 3 packs and then you're going to combine them into 15 cards, and you're going to pass them. You're going to pick one and pass it to your left. And so what you're looking for, see I got a B.R.E.A.D, a legendary, a Grand Inquisitor's lightsaber legendary, and a gaffy stick. Sorry. This is Awakening, Spirit of Rebellion, and Empire at War. And so it's a combination, and you're looking for a really, obviously you want to find what we call bombs, cards that are just going to take you over the top. Things that would be good for that are like weapons with ambush, weapons with good damage sides, really good characters that are under 10-point cost. Obviously, look at that, I got a second chance. Second chance could be very good, but in the beginning, you really want to get those dice cards, because there's only 3 dice cards or die cards. So you really want that. You want to get the best of those. Now, Baze at a 14 isn't great. You could still pair him with a like an Anakin and a Jawa, but honestly, the best thing to do is to try to go for 3 decent attacker kind of characters, 10. So what you're looking for is a 10 or a 9 cost character that you can pair to make a rainbow list. But you know, everybody depends on what you want. It's a tough choice. Draft is definitely challenging, but I really like that gaffy stick. So I go with the gaffy stick and forego the 4-costed Grand Inquisitor's lightsaber, which some people might call a bomb. But gaffy stick is really good. Redeploy, which I could get redeploy through Ketsu, but it also has that special side which allows you to remove a melee dice just to do 3 damage straight up. So, and being able to put it on a character for only 2 costs is great in the beginning. So moving on to the second here. I got a backup muscle, which I really like, but again, I'm looking for die cards at this point because they're going to be gone very soon. There is a force push, which, would be fairly decent. It's got 2 base sides. That's the other thing is I think you should look for is cards with base sides instead of modifiers. So Padme, she's okay. I am not going to go for Mill, even though Mill is fairly strong. I was already thinking that I wanted to play Ketsu and potentially Anakin, so that means I'm looking for a 9-cost character, ideally red. But yeah, Padme's okay, and Force Push is good. Backup Muscle is good. I think I decided to take the Force Push. I think it's better out of those 3. Here we go. Got a Riposte, an Isolation. And sorry, guys, hopefully you know these cards. I'm not going to go through all of them. If you don't know them, then it's definitely better to do as much research as you can. Play some Destiny Standard Constructed maybe before you dive into at least really getting in a draft. Draft is definitely fun for new players, and I highly recommend it, but it does take more reading to know what you're going to draft. So take your time, read the cards, just showing off what I got. So there's really only 1 die card left here, and it was a smuggling freighter, which is not really great, but it could help you generate resources, and for only 1 cost, I thought, hey, I think I'll go ahead and take the die card versus getting some good removal like Isolation. So we decided to put all our dice in the middle. I think some people put them in a bag to hide them. We didn't do that, but we just kind of did it in a way so you could kind of see what was there, but not what people took. So it was, let me just say that draft was super fun, and I had a great time, and I really just loved the whole deck building process and just drafting. That part of it is just as fun to me as playing the actual game. it takes a lot of creativity. It does challenge what you think you know about the game and what you think is good, and I love that about it. It brings a whole new element to Destiny that, if you've just been playing constructed, is fun, and it makes the game more interesting to me. So as I'm waiting for Alfred to pass me the card, I could talk a little bit more about the draft format. The Rivals kit did unofficially release in limited form, and our store got 6 packs, and she was cool enough to, Becky over at Chico Magic, she decided to keep them rather than sell them and keep them as store kits, and that way we could keep drafting until the sets do officially come out. I think that's great because that means more of us could play. But I do appreciate that Matt Davis, one of our local players, shout out to him. He got 2 packs so that we could all have 8 players playing on that night. So it was a lot of fun, and without that, we wouldn't have been able to do it. I didn't know that much about what was in the Rivals kit at the time, so after playing a whole Rivals draft event, I definitely know way more now, and I think going into the next draft, I will just do much better in terms of knowing what to pull. But in the beginning, it's definitely a challenge trying to figure out what you're going to get. Oh, you're trying to figure out which characters you want to get. So here Alfred passed me the next pack, and bam, it looks like there's a Chirrut Imwe, which is kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Chirrut's not great with his modified sides, and then there's a cable launcher, which is actually not bad, but it doesn't do much damage. So I'm going to just mention the whole acronym that people use in Magic drafting called B.R.E.A.D, B-R-E-A-D. And they just use that as a kind of like a general way of reminding yourself what to look out for when you're drafting. B stands for bombs, and R stands for removal, E stands for evasion, A stands for aggro, and D stands for duds. And I'll talk about that in a little bit after I go through. So it looks like I got my the first round back. I got nobody decided to take a Baze, which is pretty smart because he's, again, 14 costs is tough to play. I don't know why I picked a Chirrut. He's 12 for 1. I wasn't sure what I was thinking. I mean, he's okay. He's got a little bit more health, but Anakin's still better. I mean, you really want base damage sides. So, ideally, and this is just my opinion, the high cost characters are going to be tough because you're going to be either stuck with, like, let's say you get like Vader, who's 16, right? So Vader would only really allow you to play with, a 2-die start. There's no way to get 3-die out of Vader. Yeah. So that's really limiting, I think, in the draft format. You really want to start with at a minimum 3 dice. And I think that's average probably for most. I think I only saw 1 or 2 players who ended up doing 2-die starts. But, if you get that legendary and you want to keep that legendary, it's sometimes worth it. So the negotiate here in my hand's pretty good for removal. Stolen cash, in my opinion, is very good in this kind of format because resources are huge. Probe is also very good because it just gets rid of, people's, events, whether they're events that help them to damage other characters. What is that? Drop your weapon. So the cool thing about draft is that you can, combine any number of hero and villain cards. And originally I wasn't too excited about that, but in the end, it makes it more fun and you can play a lot better cards. So, so you can look at what I have so far. I got pretty decent weapons, and there is a backup muscle, and so at this point, I'm definitely taking the backup muscle. That is just, to me, a bomb. Backup muscle is a bomb because it's 3 damage automatically that you don't have to roll for. I'm trying to figure out if you should, at this point, I don't know if you should know what characters you're playing. I don't think Chirrut's that great, and if you're not playing, you have to get a 9 cost or under character in order to do a 3 character start with the starter set. So I still don't have one. I've got Chirrut. which means at a 12, I would have to play, any of the Anakin, Ketsu, Lobot, and then a Jawa. But I do have 3 more packs coming, so there is a possibility. But it's very challenging at this point to know, unless you get like just a bomb character from the get-go, which characters you're playing. So I think in general, going for Rainbow and basically looking for any decent 9-cost character is a good start to look at. Like, or even maybe a 10-cost character like Gamorrean Guard, Tusken Raider I think is decent. Night Sister's good. Padawan's a little... squishy, but still good. Like, in my opinion, 3 characters that have decent damage sides, at least 1 or 2 damage sides, is a good play in draft. Okay, so here we go. I got Determination, very specific. I didn't even look at battlefields at this point. I was basically whatever battlefields are left. I don't know if battlefields, are something you want to be looking at the beginning. I don't think so, because you can't depend on it. It's definitely something that could hurt you, or potentially just trying to find the least offensive battlefields yourself. Anything that allows you to focus sides or turn dice to sides, to my opinion, is good in limited format. And then, of course, anytime that a card will do damage out of hand is very good. You can see I'm pretty much working on yellow and blue at this point. I was scared to start picking up red unless I had to, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to play a red character. I didn't really want to play a Lobot. Lobot's pretty cool, actually. He's good support. He doesn't do that much damage, but he does have Guardian, so he's mostly your meat shield. Anakin is an all-around good attacker. Ketsu Onyo, she gives your character... Well, basically, if they don't kill her first, any weapons on other characters will redeploy. I go ahead and take that Stolen Cash, which is a card from Empire at War, that you play it exhausted as a support, and then next turn you can discard it to get a resource. So in my opinion, the R in B.R.E.A.D should stand for resources, because you should be looking for cards that are either going to save you resources, or they're going to make it so that you get resources. So either make resources or save you money. Because to me, in draft and Destiny, that's huge. And we all know in the Star Wars universe, money is huge. So, we're going to stick with that. Okay, so we have them now. Again, like I said, it's a good card to have in order to turn dice, so you don't have to rely on rolling. Because when you have to discard to reroll in this format, you're potentially going to be milled, and mill is actually significantly more powerful in draft. So any cards that you can get that help you to turn your dice the size you want will be very helpful, because there's less mitigation. I still think, of course, mitigation is a very good pick. Anything like a flank, if you're playing 3 characters, parry, evade, dodge, those kinds of things are very good. Isolation, he doesn't like you, those are all bomb type mitigation. So the next thing I would say is, let's talk about the other letters of the acronym. R, it normally is removal in Magic, in which case you're like removing creatures, you're removing other spells, you're kind of countering or removing elements of your opponent off the board. And in Destiny, I guess that could be considered mitigation and that kind of stuff. But I also would like to consider maybe R for resources, because anything that maybe saves you resources or will or get you more resources, whether it be like Lando or a truce or like the Stolen Cash, or maybe even an It Binds All Things. Anything that's going to save you money is going to be great in draft, because it'll allow you to play more upgrades, play more supports. And we all know in Star Wars, the Star Wars world credits can be huge in terms of getting what you want. So next we're going to talk about E, evasion. In Magic, evasion refers to being able to get through damage, like things like haste, or things that are like unblockable damage. So evasion means evading the opponent's ability to get away from what you're trying to do. So in Destiny, maybe I would call that maybe evasion in terms of mitigation, like keeping your opponent from getting to do the things that they want to do. So dice removal, that kind of thing. So that to me is evasion. But everybody probably has their own acronyms. The other one is A. Aggro is what it stands for in Magic. And definitely that is huge in Magic. They talk about mana curve, like building your deck as you go and making sure that you have enough creatures as you get down the line that are more expensive for you to ramp up. So in Star Wars Destiny, aggro to me is about being able to play a decent number of maybe like 1 or 2 cost upgrades, and then maybe a couple 3 cost upgrades, and maybe 1 4 cost upgrade, or even supports later down the line. Now, you're not always going to draw into those in Destiny with the shorter deck, so it's a little bit different. But to me, aggro also means getting a lot of characters that have damage, base damage sides. You really need damage if that's your win condition. So in draft, the same thing applies. You need to make sure you have enough characters that have damage. It doesn't. If you have 4 characters on the board, sure, you might live a long time. But if you don't have any base damage on those characters, or ways of getting base damage from your upgrades, or any of them, if you know you only have 1 main attacker and that guy gets taken out, then that's gonna end your game. So D is the last one, and that stands for duds, and there are always going to be duds. There are going to be cards that you're going to discard to reroll, and maybe we should call that the D for dud, for discard to reroll, because that's what they're going to be. And sometimes they're going to be cards like if you get smuggling, for example, one of the yellow cards that if you discard a card to make a resource, those are cards that are duds kind of, but they're also discard for use. Like Anakin's special ability when you need villain and hero cards so that you can discard to get the shields or discard to do the damage. So the D for discard. So here we are on the next round of draft, and we'll see what I've got. Here we got our first pack, and I got Outer Rim Smuggler. It is a 8. Is it? I think he's a 9 cost. Maybe he's an 8. And I get a Hux. So Hux was actually interesting. I was actually consider maybe playing him, and then I also pulled another legendary, Commanding Presence, which with all that focus, 3 costs, it's actually really good in draft, and I probably should have played it, but at this point I didn't have a red character that I was going to play, so I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I was, you kind of feel rushed, like I didn't know the point cost of the characters well enough to know what the pairings were. Hux is 11, so I knew he could pair with either another 9 cost and then Anakin, or I could do Ketsu and then an 8 cost or something, but I still didn't have an 8 cost character, so I would have been stuck with Jawa. And Hux is good in terms of his focus, but he's not great in terms of like doing any damage. And I really wanted to make sure I had characters that could do damage instead of relying on upgrades, which you may or may not draw, and early on. I think it looks like on average maybe you're getting 6 to 8 upgrades in a draft kit. So it was a tough choice. Again, you can see it's a tough choice. Outer Rim Smuggler might have been the good play, but at 7 health, he's pretty squishy. He did have 2 damage sides, and we all know he's not that great. There's also a Fast Hands in there, which I would definitely take if it weren't for wanting to have a die card. So on going back to this, I should have taken the Commanding Presence, I think. I think that would have been a better play. Hux is okay, but not that great. Oh, bam, there's a bomb right there in my hand, a Vibro Knucklers. So I already got the Gaffy Stick. So I know that yellow melee is very powerful. Any kind of melee synergy would be good. There's a Sienna Ree. Now, she is also what I'd say a pretty bomb character in the fact that she can generate resources. And again, going back to that R, she can generate resources. So she would actually be a very smart choice in order to go into red. And at her cost, you could play her with Anakin and Ketsu. But I take the Vibro Knucklers because I'm already thinking I want to play Anakin. I got the Gaffy Stick. I want to play Ketsu maybe, and now I just need a 9-cost red character. But it's weird. Your plan is constantly changing, and 1 minute you think one way, and then all of a sudden you have to start trying to think. Well, maybe like here. Okay, I kind of had a plan, but then the Magna Guard comes into play here. Excuse me. So the Magna Guard is perfect. So he is 9 points. He has got 3 melee damage sides, 8 costs, and we know his ability, which is really good, which means that after he's been defeated that round, you don't have to remove him from the game. So such a great, even though they have those pay costs, he's great. So I end up taking him because I have the Vibro Knucklers already. I have the Gaffy Stick. I can play him with Anakin, who has melee, and I can play him with Ketsu, who has some melee and will allow me to redeploy weapons to her. So sometimes I think, you know, again, like the more you practice this, the better you're going to get. And there's another backup muscle. So immediately I'm like, okay, I really like 2 backup muscles. That's basically 6 damage. So maybe it's because I'm kind of an aggro player at heart. I'm kind of looking for those kinds of things. But to me, those are really good. I mean, aggro is kind of a simpler way to approach draft. If you can get things that are powerful from the gate, it means you're less dependent on upgrades and die rolls. So we're just going to use this time also to talk about the other upgrades that are available in the Rivals draft kit. Basically, you've got the crafted lightsaber, 2-cost blue weapon. You've got a vibro sword, also a 3-cost neutral gray melee weapon, and then you've got the Verpine sniper rifle. Sorry about the blurriness of that one, and I do want to give a shout out to Hyperloops, Mike Gem. I think he was the one who posted a couple of these to his website. Check out hyperloops.com. There weren't all of the Rivals kit stuff out yet, and unfortunately. So hopefully we will get more of the high quality images, but you've also got the T21 repeating blaster, which is a ranged weapon for 3. So you've got 2 2-cost and then 2 3-cost weapons. And then up on the top right there, we've got the Fang Fighter, which is a very, very good support vehicle with 2 3 damage range sides, a discard side, and also ambush. And in this format, being able to have a support is actually really very useful because it's going to stick around even while your other characters are potentially dead, especially if you have a 3-wide or a 4-wide character set. So already at the get-go here, I am already going to be definitely including the crafted lightsaber and the vibro sword. So with that and the Gaffy Stick and the Vibro Knucklers, I have a pretty good suite of melee weapons to go with my Anakin and my Magna Guard. So just being able to maybe try to figure out now how to deal with some resource management so that I can pay for all those pay sides. There are a lot of pay sides. So I'm looking at this other hand here, and Scavenge isn't that great. Double dealing, it's not, you know, there's nothing like amazing there. So I'm go ahead and at this point I'm looking for some mitigation. I'm trying to decide also whether, you know, there's take cover, which will give me a shield, and then swift strike. Let's see, what does that one do? I think it's just it's a removal card, right? I think I take the removal. So at this point, I'm trying to grab as many red cards as I can because I am into red now. Willpower is pretty good. Rise Again, too expensive. Occupation, also too expensive really for what you're doing. Strike Briefing is more of a mill card. You know, allows you to discard a card and look at 3. Tech Team decreases the cost for supports, which is not that great. So, you know, at this point, I think I like Plastoid Armor. So while I'm going through these, I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about the other cards in the Rivals kit that I think are worth mentioning, and they're good to keep in mind as you're building your draft deck. Tinker is a 0-cost yellow neutral that allows you to turn a die to a side showing 1 for 0. So you can turn it to a focus, a resource when you need it, a shield if you need it, or even a 1 melee damage or range damage or indirect in the new set. So I think it's a great card. It'll probably see some constructive play too. On the left here we have Hidden Motive, a very cool kind of semi-doubt type. On the top here we have kind of removal cards, and Hidden Motive says choose a symbol, and force an opponent to re-roll that a die. And if it just rolls the chosen symbol, then you have to remove it. So, for example, if it's showing a melee damage, it doesn't really matter what it's showing, but like if Darth Vader rolls out or something, he's got melee damage, you can play Hidden Motive and have him re-roll it. If it hits the melee again, then he removes it. If he hits the resource or something, then he gets to keep it. But it's kind of like a little bit more of a specific doubt, but still very good. And it's neutral, so heroes can use it too. Fight Back. Sorry guys, it's a little blurry here too. Is remove one of your dice. Remove one of your dice, then remove a die showing damage. So basically, it's kind of like a he doesn't like you, because you have to remove one of your dice, except you pay one to do it. So it's a mitigation card that's neutral. And then on the bottom here, we've got surprise attack and targeting computer, and these are both things that kind of allow you to focus your die. One, it says, surprise attack allows you to resolve one of your dice showing damage, increasing its value by 1. So it can quickly do more damage than you might think is out there. And then we also have targeting computer. Sorry, it just kind of shut off for me there for a minute. Targeting computer says turn a support or upgrade die to any side. So those are your kind of, like, to me, some of the best cards in Rivals. And they're definitely ones to keep in mind when you're drafting. I'm not talking specifically about, constructed. So anyway, back to what I'm drafting here. You guys could probably be paying attention to that. By the end here, there's not a whole lot of great stuff. I think I end up taking Wingman like an idiot here because I forgot I needed 2 red characters. I, for some reason, thought that if you put it on one of your red characters, they would become the Wingman. But yeah, you need 2 red characters to use Wingman. So... Red Alert, very 3 cost red. It's fairly expensive. It's kind of like a runaway card. Pin Down is good if you have a vehicle. I did have a smuggling freighter, so I thought, okay, well, if I have the smuggling freighter out, maybe that would be useful. But at the end here, you're pretty much looking at duds. Every once in a while, you're going to come across something fairly good. There's My Kind of Scum. Which, you got to have a disrupt side to use that. But at this point, I was looking for villain cards I could use for Anakin's ability. So if you don't have any villain cards or hero cards to use, then you can't use the special ability. So that happened to me a couple times in my games, neutral cards sitting in my hand that were useless. So lastly here, we're going to take a quick look at the battlefields that come with the Rival set. You've got the Sith Temple, which says remove one of your dice to deal 1 unblockable damage to a character. And then you have Dry Fields, which is one I play, which just says gain 1 resource if you have no resources. So nothing game-breaking. In this situation, you not really know. A lot of people are going to have 3 dice starts, so it's kind of hard to know whether you're going to be faster than them unless you have like a 4 speed or some kind of action cheating or a lot of ambush cards. So... that pretty much finishes our draft. I feel pretty good about what I'm going to be playing. I got 2 backup muscles, a gaffy stick, the vibro knucklers. I have some decent mitigation in there. I ended up drawing a bunch of useless characters that I wasn't going to use because I was sort of confused, and that was kind of what happens when you first draft. You kind of don't really know what you're doing, but then you get in the groove and you figure it out. So please keep an eye out for our other videos. We do record 3 of our games from that, and hope you enjoy watching them. I am going to give you a spoiler so if you don't want to know who wins, then you should stop the video now. Otherwise, I'm going to do a little bit of an analysis of the deck and how it did. I want to thank you guys all for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the Destiny content. I'm looking forward to bringing you more, and I really appreciate all the views and the likes. Alright, you guys, I just wanted to kind of go over my deck real quick. That did pretty good at the draft. I was able to go through, and played Magna Guard, Ketsu, and Anakin with the Dry Fields. And pretty much this suite of weapons here, Vibro Knife, Crafted Lightsaber, Vibro Sword, and Gaffy Stick, were what I play all that melee damage. And then Gaffy Stick was MVP with the special, because I usually had a Magna Guard getting melee, so I could do 3 damage that way. And then, of course, double backup muscle was really good. Tinker, Hidden Motive, of course, one of the best removals. And then the Fang Fighter did come into play a couple times. We have them now. I actually did not play, even though it could have. And I had a pretty good suite of mitigation there with 2 evades, a dodge, which I did use once. And then this was kind of like all the trash cards that didn't get used. But I tried to put some villain cards in just to discard for Anakin's ability. But it was a lot of fun. I definitely recommend playing Draft. So I hope you guys enjoyed the games, and we'll see you next time.